Something that struck me is the sheer size of the Forbidden City. I am inside just one courtyard right now, and maybe through the haze or the pollution, smog, unfortunately, you can see that the buildings just kind of march on and on off into the distance and keep going, and that is going in that direction. Of course, I am surrounded by this courtyard here, and each one of these stone decorative columns have carvings and interesting things on them. These, I think, are clouds, maybe, and snakes. But the buildings continue this direction, and I just came in this gate over here, where there are another two, at least, enormous courtyards continuing in that direction. And all of the courtyards have huge, pardon me as I go upstairs, trying not to fall over, huge, enormous buildings like this, one after the other, marching way off into the distance in that direction, and then behind me in the other direction. And of course, all of the spaces where I am walking are full of locals, tourists, everyone. Many of them have decorative or colorful caps on, so that you can keep track of your tour group. This is the orange-capped tour group with a yellow guy passing through. They also have the flags that you see so that people can keep track of their tour guide and not get lost. Each of the courtyards have side entrances, kind of like this. The main building, most of which you can't go through, but the doors will be open and they'll have preserved areas there. But how you get through each courtyard is through side gates like this. Walk down a ramp, walk through the courtyard here, and then pop through another side entrance that direction and just keep going. This is opening into yet another courtyard through these large doors into another amazing courtyard with many people. At this point, your brain's going, ow! And you can see many of the side buildings. And over off in the distance, they're doing some preservation work, so it's protected over the roof of one of the other places in the complex. Obviously, continuously ongoing restoration project here. Never ends. This is the inside of one of the buildings, sort of a throne room or a relaxation room. And they've got some of the original decorations, I think, or maybe they've replaced some, but very elaborate carvings inside the room. But you can't get inside because we're gated off here. So there is an amazing mob scene all around of people who are looking into the room. This is another one of the stone columns decorated. This one, I believe, has cranes, which I was told was peace and long life, which sounds good to me. And then behind and further down is an entire courtyard, all of it carved stone, steps. You can see there's some people walking to give you a sense of scale and perspective. You can see the elaborate paintings and decorations. This is just a typical example of the underside of the roof. Sorry, there's a tour group here. This building, you can see, is less well preserved. The paint is not nearly as colorful. It's faded because you can imagine the expense of trying to keep up preservation for all of these buildings all around us here inside the city. So some are repainted and some are not. An ongoing restoration project, obviously. But still, the buildings are beautiful, whether they've had a chance to be preserved or not. Lots of people enjoying having photos taken in front of these elaborate doors as a part of one of the buildings here. So I've seen people who they like to grab the door knocker or act like they are knocking on the door while their recorder is making sure the picture turns out okay. Need to have multiple shots to make sure that it works. So I've discovered that these heads that are everywhere around the stonework in all of the buildings, these things, when I started paying attention, I realized, of course, they have a hole right here, and they are part of an elaborate drainage system for the walking area. Because if you look here, and there's another set of head things sticking out on the other side of that, and of course, all the way down here are drainage holes that the water goes through and pops out the dragon's mouth on the other side. Pretty cool. And now we are standing in Tiananmen Square. We've just come through that gate here. And this is, of course, the massive building with Chairman Mao. And it's kind of hard to take photos. It's actually, I've got an open spot here, but it looks like I have to move on. And Tiananmen Square, we're in the entrance to the Forbidden City. Pretty big buffer zone around, as you can imagine, but still opportunities for people to take photos in between the heads, getting that right angle to get the chairman behind you. This is Tiananmen Square. You can see pretty polluted, unfortunately, but the traffic runs this way. It's enormous. And then eventually, all the way around, you can see the Forbidden City area that we just came from. Of the Forbidden City, where you can step inside to a museum-like setting where they have artifacts that they have found from the Forbidden City, nicely displayed. This particular one, I believe, is some sort of a horse harness, obviously. The idea that this is just one item that is replicated throughout rooms and rooms and rooms of other artifacts here. I love this beautiful enamel basin. It says it has the design of the 8 emblems. So I guess I'd have to look around it and see what the various 8 emblems are. This is a jade seal set. So you have that special stamp there in red to indicate some sort of official court document, probably. This says this is a utensil used to hold gunpowder, which makes sense since the Chinese invented gunpowder. This is a painted enamel teapot, obviously, in the 1700s. So I'm sure a lot of tea was consumed here in the Forbidden City. I love this vase. It says red bottle in white ground. Again, 1700s, but I really like the red color and the contrast on the white. I think it's just beautiful. And then right next to it is a little box that collects snuff bottles. So each little drawer in there has a small glass snuff bottle in it, again from the same era. It says it's a little card says it's inlaid with jade. This case is apparently to hold a variety of jadeware, but these are all little drawers. Okay, so you can see the handles. It's a pretty big box. It's all covered in silk, and then they have a few of the drawers pulled out so that you can see the lining in the design. And also how the drawers are, sort of tucked inside this whole complex of boxes. It says these are 45 cases which were used to store the most elegant jadeware in the palace. And as long as we're in the Forbidden City, we might as well look at a Ming vase. Typical blue and white one, only these, of course, are the real deal, unlike most of the reproductions, of course, that the rest of us can afford. It says the blue and white porcelain, this particular reign, This was late 1600s, into the 1700s a little bit. This is looking down the hallway in just one of the buildings. Inside here are some of the museum pieces. As you can see, the hallway goes and goes and goes and goes. And it has decorative painting on the ceiling the whole way up and down. Beautiful blue and green designs underneath the eaves as well. And then, of course, a very nice view out into the courtyard.
对对对，还往上升，又降下来以后，那个机器人咋没动过？这对好。
哟，这还有升啊！
动了。
是在升，这样子。
到点了，都在转。
是塔在升。
这些钟真的会转。
还在动。
要不要开了？开的。
哎，下来了。
过去。
下来了。哦，掉了。哦，下来了。
要开的，来。
茶有生活的看见。
它这个表里面有水果皮。
每个人都会转的，上面这个名字也放。
细的。
哎，中间那个混。
中间那个是把它打
看这个。
打吗？
完了，
这个太快了。
没了，中止了。
哎呦。
什么是砂糖？生姜。
Forbidden City. Forbidden City. The crowds are starting to make their way in now. All of the tours. Just came up this interesting, I call it a stairway, sloped, so you can walk up it.